This podcast is part of E2C Network, where we share the whole Auburn experience.
David Housel described it best. We are living the whole of the Auburn experience. You can quantify it, you can qualify it through a variety of methods, time, people, places, and things. But at its heart, at its core, the Auburn experience is all about Auburn sports, Auburn culture, Auburn family stuff. And an easier way to say it, if it's orange and blue, it's what we do. So thank you so much for joining us and what we're going to do today. Episode 121 of the Auburn Experience podcast. I'm your host, as always, Kyle Loomis. Alongside me, live on location, Auburn Alumni Center, Mr. Austin Scott. What's up? What's going on, sir?
What's up, War Eagle? Welcome back. It's good to be back at the Alumni Center in person on a beautiful weekday after a beautiful weekend.
It is a beautiful weekend. Yes, we're going to get into all of that. And it's a little less chilly, a little less windy.
That's right.
No less loud. Fiji House is not pumping the tunes out this time.
No basketball game.
No basketball game going on. But we are here live to bring you this experience with the beautiful Jordan hair in the background. You can see that monstrosity of a scoreboard, I think, way back there. It's a little bright in our background. There it is. Also, just a little quick housekeeping. We know last time that the connection issues were a little bit bad. The audio came through, so we're working through that, still testing some things out. But you guys, hopefully that's coming through and you're enjoying the audio no matter what. Especially if you're listening to just the regular podcast version of this. You get to listen to the sounds of South. Can we have a quick debate? Do you consider this North or South College Street?
This it would be South College.
See, I think, in my opinion, I know it is South.
Sure.
By how it's listed.
Yes.
Everything from that corner down there where Rouse is and the
Yes.
President's Building should be north, in my opinion. That's
so
just
instead of splitting at Magnolia, you'd rather it split down there.
yes, I think all
Even though
campus,
college in Magnolia is iconic.
but it's still college. It's still college.
It is still college.
It's just South and North
South
College.
to North.
So, quick little debate here that we're doing on location right now. So we've got our normal show for you guys. Obviously, it's just me and Austin today. We're not going to have any special guests. So sorry. It's just you're stuck with
just us.
Just us here. But it's actually a little bit more low key today. I did, however, invite some people to stop by if they wanted to. So it would be funny if they did. That's why that chair is sitting there in the
Great.
background, just in case someone wanted to slide right in here.
Surprise guest here.
So, I doubt it. Mr. Uniform Guy's got too many things.
Oh yeah.
I did try to
lots
convince
of
him to
things
come
on
by.
this plate.
Okay, let's get into it. Auburn Potpourri and two main topics. Auburn Potpourri is all the news that we want to discuss from this previous week. That's not going to be about A-Day because, let's be honest, that's going to cover.
We got
the
a lot
majority
to
of us
cover on
today.
that anyway.
It's been a week. Auburn basketball's done. That's a little sad.
It was going to be done regardless.
It was going to be done regardless. We wish it had been on happier terms, and that would have been amazing. But it's no less fun of a journey. Don't want to focus necessarily on the sad part, although I will recommend that you guys go check out all of the videos that we put out from the team coming back.
Yes.
Again, we've talked about it last show. If you haven't watched Chris Moore and Dylan Cardwell and you don't shed a tear, you got no soul whatsoever. But I want to talk about one shining moment with you.
Yep.
Please tell me you've watched it at least 1,000 times.
I've watched one shining moment. At first I said I can't. It's going to be too heartbreaking. But it's part of March Madness.
It was too heartbreaking?
I just remember it was fresh. It was still fresh of the moment.
I got you.
But very Auburn heavy. Very good to see some special moments in there. It's always a special video to watch and impressive how well they get it together. Of course, they're probably working on it the whole tournament, but getting the very end done and everything right after the championship nets are cut. But once again, it's a testament to every time seeing Auburn featured in one shining moment. I'm like, this is real. We're actually in March Madness.
Yeah.
So even at the end, it's good to see.
So I never thought you would be like bittersweet. I mean, yeah, it's bittersweet, but like,
yes,
I thought you'd be jazzed up like I was. I could not wait for this to come on because Austin, I dreamed of days where Auburn would just appear in one shining moment, but much less take a pivotal role in the narrative that they're trying to build in one shining moment to the Final Four. In fact, I got a little bit perturbed as I was watching it live because they start showing all the Final Four teams. And I'm like, where's Auburn at this? And of course, they saved the best for last.
Yes.
Janai Brooms coming back out of the locker, and then that knocking down the shot and the storybook. I literally jumped out. It was 11 o'clock at night on the Eastern Coast. And I jumped out just like screaming, fist pumping and stuff like that.
Yes.
Of course, then like 2 seconds later, they're showing the other thing. But it makes it no less special because we dreamed of days
Absolutely.
like this.
It's true. To see Auburn in it is still something hard or impressive to see.
Yeah.
man, it's just so fresh. The heartbreak just a couple of days before. But you're right. We should never take it for granted and appreciate Auburn in one shining moment. And it was a season full of shining moments for Auburn.
Yeah, it was so good. I'm so excited that we live in an era where Auburn will prominently have a shot.
Yeah.
Have a shot, but prominently, more often than not, have a place in one shining moment. So enjoy that, folks. It's another reason that you should be proud of this team and what they accomplished this year. We're going to do another episode coming up where we'll break down the whole of the season, but we got plenty to talk about today other than that. Let's talk about some football, but not this weekend stuff. Talking about future schedule stuff. We know the 2025 schedule.
Yes.
We know that we're going to be starting on the road and then coming home. First home game, Ball State. And we got a little bit of a special thing, whether it's, homecoming, things like that. But we're getting to honor an Auburn legend, the Coach Pat Dye game, the reunion game they're calling it. Obviously, late Coach Pat Dye.
Right.
What you think about that?
Yeah, pretty cool. I didn't see something like that coming, but I thought that's a really cool. And obviously, there's so many guys who've played for Coach Dye that have come through Auburn. A special kind of reunion game for a lot of those guys to come back home to the Plains. It kind of feels like an alumni game type feel, but a kind of special group that got to play for Coach Dye and come back and tell stories of him, remember him. So that'll be pretty cool. I'm looking forward to that. That's a good, tidbit, that first game. Sure. It's already going to be packed and everybody's excited for the first home game in Jordan-Hare. But have a Coach Dye special game. I think Clint's going to tell us that we're breaking out special uniforms for the game.
Don't do that here. Don't do that. He's that we were teased that I was trying to get him to show up. What if he did just pop up? What did you say? I said no. There's no breaking news. There's no orange uniforms that I know of that he's told me. Probably wouldn't tell me honestly. Even thought we were better friends than that, Clint. But Coach Pat Dye, honoring him, and I think we described it a lot or previous episodes. I think the father of Auburn football would be George Petrie, the person who gave Auburn its maybe identity, Coach Jordan. But the soul of Auburn, I think, is what Pat Dye exemplified in that blue collar, hard-working mentality. Yes. And so even though he is passed now, we still honor his legacy through things like that. And you bringing his players together that were underneath him, and I'm sure coaches as well, it's a great way to continue to live on the legacy of Coach Pat Dye. Let's keep moving right along. We're going to talk about some recruiting, transfer portal stuff, and it's all basketball related, believe it or not. We're going to first start, though, with the very first commitment that I know of. I don't think I've missed anything. Under new women's basketball coach Larry Vickers.
Yeah.
And that I'm going to this is not a new thing here on the show. I mispronounce people's names. So I'm doing my best, please, Miss Caballé. I'm trying to do this. But Harrison? I want you to try.
Harrison. That's what I was going to go with.
Harrison Caballé is coming to be with the Tigers, the very first commit for Coach Larry Vickers. And it's very much needed. A lot of names that are no longer here at Auburn.
That's right. There's some empty chairs in the room that we need to be filled, but a good start. You got to get the first one at some point, and in the transfer portal area, you never know how many of those seats you can fill up quickly. But Miss Coulibaly, we don't think there's any relation to former successful Coulibalys at Auburn.
I'm sure they would have definitely made some fun marketing reference about that.
But a talented prospect and the first one of the boat for Coach Vickers. So exciting, and hopefully more to come pretty soon.
And definitely, obviously, it starts a little bit of a way because when you lost as many people, of course, you lose people in a transition no matter what. I think there was definitely a lot of attachment to our last head coach, and some of those people wanted to move off. Some went to where she now is at Baylor.
Yep.
So there's some of that, but this is the new era. We're moving into it. Full steam ahead. First commit on the board. Congratulations to Coach. And certainly we look forward to how you're going to build this roster out. Let's go into further transfer portal stuff. Some of this is like rehash / clarification and updates. Let's start with the rehash first. You and I last week talked about Tahad Pettiford, men's basketball, announcing at the event that he came at that he would like to return. He hopes to return to Auburn basketball. And I think a lot of you still continue to not listen and do critical listening and thinking sometimes and overreact when you think that he said he was coming back. He said he hopes to. He went on to clarify on social media, I think the next day, maybe a day after, I don't know. Yeah. And said there's, actually he started clarifying in like messages and responses saying that's not confirmed or anything like that. But he clarified his position that he would like to come back, but he's going to go through the draft processes your opinions about that? Or
Yeah, I'm not surprised. I think I said on last week's episode, I'd be very surprised if you don't see Tahad decide to declare, quote unquote, for the draft and see where he fits. I think that's a great thing that the NBA and college basketball have, where they allow kids to do that, retain their eligibility. If there's a chance they come back to college. Janai Broom did it every year he could while he was at Auburn and at Morehead State. So I think it's a good thing for kids to see if that's their ultimate aspiration to be in the NBA, to hear what they need to work on, hear how they're already viewed. And if it's good enough, then they can go. I think even Coach Pearl put out, if someone doesn't draft Tahad first round or say he's first round, we'd love to have him back. But a first round is that's kind of your cutoff, right? If you're first round, then you probably ought to go. Right now, I think some of the mocks have Janai and Tahad both mid-second, so it could be good news for Auburn in getting Tahad back. But not surprised at all, and I think it's good for Tahad to hear from real-time feedback from the scouts and see what he needs to work on or where he's already at. But I think this was always the plan, and if people are surprised by it, like you said, I don't know if you've been listening very carefully.
We stress critical thinking, critical listening here. Some of you need to do that more often. I love you as Auburn people. I just want you to be the best version of yourselves. I love this. Tahad Pettiford flat out said, if I don't go to the draft, I'm not going anywhere else. You got to feel good about that he knows that if my path doesn't lead to the NBA this year, my place is here. I can flourish here. I can succeed in this world of certain players deciding they're just going to up and leave in the middle of practices. And go somewhere else. You got to, that feels good as an Auburn person, knowing that, because we talk about the family thing, right? And to see that reciprocated by a lot. Tahad, a superstar like him, that's a great thing. So Tahad's going to do it through the process. I think late May is when he has to have a final decision.
Yeah, I can't remember that exact date, but it's around then.
Yeah. So there's your news for Tahad Pettiford. Hopefully you feel informed now. The last bit of that I want to talk about basketball transfer portal stuff was Ja'Kai Howard.
Yeah.
Just like with the Tahad going to the NBA, this shouldn't have been a surprise to anybody. Whether we're talking about him not playing as much this year, some of the off-the-court things that, again, up for debate what actually happened. Everybody speculates too much sometimes. But you would wonder, with a superstar like him, clearly talented, clearly high-flying, was he going to seek some other opportunities? He does announce that he's going to go in the transfer portal. But yet again, just like we talked about with Tahad, he leaves the door open to return to Auburn. I in a world where Ja'Kai Howard is going to leave, that's the best thing that you could hope for.
Yeah, no, absolutely. And I think that, whether you think that's coach speak or not, it is besides the point. But I thought Ja'Kai's post and his statement on it was very mature and respectful of Auburn, and he appreciated his time here. I like you said, I don't think this comes as a shock to many people. Ja'Kai was going to look elsewhere. I think that there's another layer to this where that he plays the same position as Chad Baker-Mazar. It looks like Chad Baker-Mazar might come back for another year. And so, hey, you totally understand this stage. A guy as talented as him, as high-flying as him, he'll be sought after well and probably be able to carve out a playing spot somewhere else. But you never know. And he's certainly, like you said, left the door open for
two guys have expressed, exploring what they want to do.
Auburn's only two freshmen from last year.
And yet they still leave the door open to return to Auburn. That tells you something about this whole Auburn family thing, about this place, about these people, all the stuff. The experience is pretty good for everybody here, not just the fans, but the athletes. And I think that speaks volumes in a lot of different ways.
Absolutely.
That's Auburn potpourri stuff. Let's move into our main topics. A-Day Palooza, or whatever you want to call it. The next two topics, the main topics we're going to hit are going to be just all A-Day stuff.
All A-Day.
It is
A-Day weekend.
Can I just say, and this probably is more for the second part, what an amazing weekend. I'm not even talking about results. This weather it's a little warm out here.
Oh, it's okay.
Got a little bit of a breeze. You probably hear that in the microphone.
It feels great.
It is amazing. Just this view in the background that we have here.
Not a cloud in the sky.
Not a cloud in the sky. What do they call it? A Chamber of Commerce Day.
That's right.
For the city of Auburn, the university, all that. You couldn't ask for more. Not even talking about the results yet. But let's talk about football. I know that's what most people think of with A-Day. Games, practices, events. I have really interchanged a lot what to call this. Because it's more than a practice.
It was more than a practice. I thought you still had the the awards,
Sure.
right? The from the previous season, offensive player of the year, defensive player of the year. I know I'm forgetting the other important ones,
I mean, linemen's of the year,
individual
on both sides,
awards for players either who are not with Auburn anymore, have graduated or gone to the NFL, or current players. That part felt normal.
Yeah.
Right. But then there's the alumni flag football game, and then the practice atmosphere, which was definitely, a public viewing practice, which is not something foreign to Auburn or to college football, but just not the game type feel that we're used to. Overall, I thought it was okay. I thought it was, it's not what it was. It's not. We knew that going in. It wasn't going to be what
They
it
are
was.
who we thought
They
were. It's not what we thought it was.
It's not what we thought it was. But we knew that going in. I still think that it was a good opportunity for people to come see players, come see these freshmen we've heard about, and see what things look like in the new era. But as we'll get into later too, I think that it was still more than anything an avenue for people to come back home, and be here for the entire weekend, with a bunch of other things going on, pop-up shop, other sports, things like that. So more than anything, I think that was the goal. I'll be interested to see where attendance ranks with other people, because this is not just Auburn. This is a college football landscape type change, really. But I thought it was a great turnout, regardless. The weather obviously helped that. And overall, I'm okay with it. I think, like you said, it's not a question of what it was versus what it is. We're not really going back, I don't think.
I don't. What do they call it? Pandora's box.
It's open. I don't think we're getting back to what it was. So for what it is, I think you can look on ways to improve it going forward, but a good first time doing it.
Yeah. And maybe last. I mean,
who knows?
Kind of throwing it out there.
Sure.
For those of you that spent all your time complaining and said, I'm not going because it's not a game. Well, you may have just wasted your last opportunity for what traditionally was a day. And I can't stress that. We're going to get into the football stuff and talking about what I saw, what you saw, what other people have spoken about. But I can't stress this enough, though. Sometimes we get so bent out of shape about things that you miss out on opportunities to be here. This is what we preach here. It's the Auburn Experience. This weekend was outstanding. It's not always that great. Sometimes the weather's just crap, which it's been previously. But you missed out this weekend in results, in experiences, everything. If you didn't come, especially for the Saturday. The Saturday was just jam-packed full of stuff.
Absolutely.
Friday and Sunday as well. Let's talk about football. Not necessarily the feelings about practices and whether it should be a game or stuff like that. But what we saw, what we think we saw, can't stress that enough. Once again, we all need to remember this is a spring game. The roster's not even set yet. One quarterback's not even here yet. There's a lot that's going to change. So if you're taking big takeaways from spring, in my opinion, then you're doing yourself and this team a disservice.
That's right.
Let's start with quarterbacks. Certainly that's where the conversation was always going to be, no matter what. But certainly the biggest story of the day is that likely in most people's minds, first string quarterback Jackson Arnold not able to participate. He reportedly had a hamstring injury at Thursday practice, which is just a shame. It happens right at the end of things. And he's there. He's running around. He's coaching up, other players and stuff like that, participating in whatever way he can, just not in drills.
Sure.
So disappointing or?
I noticed I hadn't seen any reports on it until we got in there. And so I said, he's not wearing cleats and he's not wearing football pants.
That's a problem.
Is his number 11? I'm pretty sure it is.
Yeah, he's a little bit new.
So, So that was, disappointing, yes. But at the end of the day, and Coach Free said it post-game, not something major, just something that probably not something he needs to be on right now. For a practice. I think if it had been the game, you still probably wouldn't have seen him. So like the spring game.
Sure.
But, I think that's their job is to keep these guys healthy and look long-term for this. I don't think it's wise to trot them out there just because it's a public practice. But it certainly gave some other guys opportunities. The only quarterbacks out there were a freshman and a walk-on. So they got their chances and I think surprised some people and excited some people as well. We talked about that when we knew Ashton Daniel wouldn't be coming until the summer. It provided Deuce Knight and these other quarterbacks a chance to kind of learn and flourish, get thrown into the fire. That happened even more so on Saturday.
Shout out to John Colvin.
Yeah.
I think. Have
Did
a
pretty
day.
well, buddy.
Just have a day. Listen, you want to talk about people making the most of their opportunities. we'll get to Deuce in a second. He did as well. But
Yeah.
Listen, when someone goes down, that's your moment. And he did. I think we saw some like Will Upton as a wide receiver who, doesn't play a whole lot, but he got a pretty good catch
Made the
in the
most
middle
of
of
their
that.
chances.
So this is honestly part of the reason I love spring practice game situations, events, because again, you shouldn't be taking a lot of hardcore facts about the team away from these things, but you get to see some of these players that are fighting for more time, fighting for spots. And the reality is most of these aren't going to get that, but you at least got to see what they could do. You won't be seeing Colvin that much, hopefully, barring some injuries, but you will at least get to see him now and see what, if heaven forbid that happens, we get down that line.
Yeah.
Who comes in there? Deuce Knight takes center stage.
Yeah.
Every fanboy's dream. I mean, he is the newest darling, which means that Jackson Arnold will quickly be everyone's most hated individual. We know how y'all go. But he gets to just take center stage of everything and show his athleticism, why he was recruited. I'm going to say this: he's a freshman quarterback, and I'm saying that for a reason. He made freshman mistakes. Yeah. He also made phenom. So he's a freshman phenom. Both parts of those are true. He made phenomenal plays, but he made freshman plays as well. What did you think about him? Anything stick out?
I thought he had a lot of confidence. Was willing to throw it into some tight coverages. Made some of those throws. Didn't make some of those throws. Some of those throws ended up turnovers. But like you said, I thought every part of what I saw of him, the size is impressive. I think that's one of those aspects you look at when you see that's why they recruited him. Obviously, the arm talent's there. You don't get to see a lot of the running ability in these kind of things, these kind of situations. But had the confidence to make some throws, and some of them worked out. Some of them probably not the best decisions in the moment, but we also don't know what they are coaching them in that moment. We see them running routes and him looking, and we don't know if they're saying, hey, we want you to try the long ball, even though it's covered. We don't know the things in the moment. That's why we're fans and not coaches. So, I was impressed. I definitely, like you said, still see the freshman in him, and that's okay. That's okay, because that is him.
What he is.
His job right now is to learn. I think, like I said a minute ago, it could not be better that he is kind of being thrown into the fire right now. If the plan is to have him start one day, either this year or next. He's getting to learn everything he needs to in a quick motion and soak a lot of information up. So I thought it was great. I was impressed by him, of course. But saw freshman mistakes I wasn't surprised by either.
Yeah, and you got to love this too, because if Jackson Arnold is going to end up being what a lot of people think, the starter, then you got Ashton Daniel coming in, who's going to be at least experienced enough to garner interest in that number 2 slot, still competing for number 1.
Sure.
Nobody's been named starting quarterback yet. And now you got Deuce Knight, who's got not only a full practice where it's just him and Jackson Arnold getting most of the reps together, but then he has a full practice day.
Yeah,
it's just Deuce,
all him.
John Colvin did great, but it is Deuce Knight's show pretty much that day.
Yep.
So you got to feel good about the quarterback situation, at least in terms of preparation that was had during spring. So that's what you can take away right now from the quarterback situation.
You still surprised seeing a lefty throw the ball?
Now that
it's a little different.
It's funny that you mentioned that, because I kept watching him and I'm like, what is different about this? And it didn't, because I'm watching 1,000 teams, because one of the great things about practice, there's so much going on,
all at one time,
drills and things, until they get down to the actual scrimmagey part of it. You can lose yourself and stuff. So I'm like trying to watch Deuce Knight, but then all of a sudden here's Perry Thompson over here doing crazy things. So that did throw me off. Let's transition to that. I think that's obviously the other big thing. We know Auburn's wide receiver room last year was just the talk of recruiting spaces, the talk of Auburn, the talk of the SEC. Cam Coleman was part of that, Malcolm Simmons. Perry Thompson is a guy who was really kick-started that in the recruiting process of building that room, along with Bryce Kane and some others. But he didn't really get to do all that much last year. Yeah. And that frustrated a lot of fans. And I continue to stress to fans, you have very little of the information. Coach Freeze has been very open about his players sometimes. And he's talked a lot about Perry needing to still learn how to practice, how to run certain routes, even when you're not the focus of it. And so that happens. These are fresh men. But now we're getting to see him take a little bit more center stage, because Cam's got his role solidified. I think Malcolm probably does too. He had some plays during camp and during that practice situation.
No, absolutely. And I think that was refreshing to see for a lot of fans, and probably some good confidence building for Perry himself. we talked about that receiving group last year. Auburn also brought in a couple receivers from the transfer portal for this
Horatio
season.
Fields,
Horatio Fields, Eric Singleton, some guys who are really talented. Another freshman in Sam Turner is very talented. So, this train's moving, Perry. So let's get on it, and I think he did a really good job yesterday, and I hope that was something that kind of showed he's been working on it, and I hope, gives him confidence, not settle and keep going. Made some spectacular catches, some big boy catches that, the other freshmen we saw last year did. So good to see that with Keandre Lambert-Smith gone. There's production and time to be seen on the field. So competition's definitely still there, but hopefully this is the beginning of Perry kind of getting his own role carved out.
Yeah, I'm really excited to see what happens with this wide receiver room this year, because sure, you've got some leftovers from that. You got some new pieces that are coming in, but how is Perry Thompson?
So
how's
much
Bryce
talent.
Kane? This is the stuff y'all dreamed of, folks, and
That's
you
right.
got it here. So enjoy it while you got it. Don't fret so much about, is this person going to leave and stuff like that. That's the world we have. But Perry Thompson, someone everybody was interested in, maybe concerned about, will he find the time? Looks like we're heading in that right direction.
Right.
I think another big story, kickers.
Kickers.
And wow, do we have a lot of them. Auburn's always been called Kicker U. That's because we normally have just a kicker lineup going, whether they're related or not, with the Onders or things like that. But certainly last year was not a great year.
Yeah.
For a lot of reasons.
Right.
Illnesses, maybe having the yips a little bit.
Yeah.
Maybe
they almost called you to come kick. I mean, it could have been really.
I mean, I did.
Bad,
I'm the only kicker in making his history with 100% 1-for-1. No. I've said this before, believe it or not, my coach did try to convince me to go walk on at Auburn.
Oh, yeah.
And I looked at him, I said, I can't do that to my team. I cannot, because what happened in the Iron Bowl situation, the walk-on had to go in and get Ben Patton, still a man among men, knocked down a 50-yarder in overtime to keep us in the game. Not going to talk about how it ended, but the kickers took not center stage, but another big storyline just with all that's happened. I got to tell you, I've just been really concerned about McPherson, his health, having some family members that have similar issues and how that can change your whole life. I mean, it doesn't sound like he was any serious problems, but just life altering in a way, losing weight. When I saw an interview with him and we put it out on social media from the athletic department, I said, he just looks so much better.
Yes, no, absolutely. And there was another story on him leading up this week, I think, from a local news outlet that had a picture of him at his skinniest. Yeah. And so, it's good to see that progress. I know a lot of Auburn family's been praying and thinking about Alex as he's been trying to figure this out. And there's been a lot of privacy in that, which is certainly his right. But it seems like things are back on the right track on however long this has had to take for him. But good to see him back out there kicking. Back out there kind of looking more like himself. And it certainly sounds like, according to Coach Freeze, he's back on the saddle. And doing things as they prepare and expect that he should. So certainly there's still a lot of kickers, so there's still a lot of room for competition there. But what did you see as our resident kicker expert here? Again, what did you see?
I couldn't see everything. Eyes bouncing like a tennis match back and forth. But it seemed like everybody was pretty accurate. Who hit the crossbar? Do you remember?
Yeah, I saw it later.
I
Someone
think it was
posted about it.
Okay. I think so, which would make sense because he even said, my strength is still returning.
Sure.
So, he used to kick like 65 yards in high school. So that's still pretty good if you're hitting the crossbar over 50 plus. But whoever it was, Towns looked pretty good out there. I'm blanking on the other individual who just transferred in from Southern Miss.
I know it.
But you've got others as well that have been here. Listen, there's plenty of options.
Oh, tons of options, but good for all of them to get some kicks in. I think most all of them did. In that scrimmage type portion. So that's real live action too of guys coming at you. I think that sometimes like those 65 yarders you mentioned, we can kind of get caught up in that when it's just you and the ball. But it's different when we got guys blocking for you. You got to get it over them, and also, hey, you got big guys who are twice your size coming running at you. So I thought that was some good action to see, kind of the best game action you're going to get in a setting like that.
I think the toughest kick to make, speaking from experience, is your opposite, your or wherever your dominant leg is. So the right side for me, the side, because you're coming across your body, you have a more tendency to hook. There's nothing more difficult than that, like 30 yards out, where you should be expected to make it.
But just
you're trying to control that strength where you need to hit it strong, but also not overdo it. So those 50-yarders, the
Sure.
60-yarders, they're kind of for fun and like it. You don't expect them to make it.
That's the hard-hitting analysis you get.
Hard-hitting analysis you get from the
kicking
kicker.
analysis.
Never thought you'd get that here. Anything else from football that stuck out to you that's worth mentioning? Just the team practicing, things like that.
I'm still interested in seeing what the running back room turns out to be.
Alvin Henderson had some great runs.
Alvin Henderson, Damari had some good runs. Jeremiah Coball had some good. That similar in a way to the receiver room. There's a lot of bodies in there that have a lot of talent. How it all shakes out will be interesting. I don't think we got to see a lot of that in the practice as far as what the pecking order might be, who's in what scenarios. I think that's just the nature of the setting and the day.
Sure.
But that'll be a very interesting thing to kind of watch for.
I felt at times that, especially in these scrimmage type portions of the end of the practice, that the offensive line was struggling with the defensive line.
Yeah.
Did you get the same feeling?
Agree.
You always wonder, again, this is spring, folks, is this more the defensive line,
Right.
the front seven is that good, or is the offensive line still struggling?
Sure.
We won't know
That's
so
right.
much later, but certainly it's that dynamic, right? You're at a spring game, practice, whatever, and you go,
Yeah.
because you start screaming like somebody makes a hard hit,
Yes.
and you're like, oh man, that was one of our guys, and like,
Yeah.
you guys
Is he okay?
a little bit. So that's something that stuck out to me. And finally, I think some of the DBs, the young DBs, made waves.
Absolutely.
Eric Winters had a
Yes.
pick. I think Deuce had 2 on the day.
One was tipped, and one, I think the Eric Winters one, he just came across and cut it off. But yeah, I thought so too. That's a group that was highly recruited and highly, sought after.
Sure.
And they certainly kind of made their case for that.
Yeah. Excited to see what all the young talent is, and kind of maybe bringing everything back to how we started talking about the awards and stuff.
Yep.
You noticed a lot of the award recipients for last year are still on this team.
Absolutely true.
It's got to be very encouraging
Yes.
for what could be coming. Just saddle in, folks. It's only spring. Still plenty of things to happen before we even get to talking about record predictions, roster predictions, depth chart predictions, all of that. But this one's in the books. We'll see if next year we're actually doing some type of practice game event of some sort for Auburn football in the A-Day situation. Let's round out our conversation with our A-Day Palooza. I feel like that's what we always go to in these situations. Extravaganza, shenanigans, whatever. We already talked about it. It was just a banner day. Still is a banner day. We're recording on. It's a full weekend, folks. Need to make sure y'all remember that. 8-day weekend, not just a day.
But in January, this was one of the weekends we said
come to Auburn
to be here for.
And were we right?
And it lived up. We talked about our top weekends of the spring, and we even said we know basketball will be over. We know that that will not be part of the weekend, but don't let that distract you from all the other good things coming on. And the weather came out to play, and it was a great weekend. So
can we just for a second imagine? I know we're still hurting from the way the final. You know what I'm about to say. You know what I'm about to say.
I was surprised there wasn't any kind of small recognition. I'm sure the staff and team is absolutely beat because it's been a very long season.
But what I was going to go with, imagine had they won.
I know.
Imagine this town, and they would have done something. Just
it would have been.
It just would have been nuts here.
It would have been.
It sounds like Florida is struggling with honoring their players, but we certainly wouldn't have done that. Maybe we should have been. Maybe we should have been here. What champions? Never mind. It's about A-Day. The rest of the stuff
Can't do that.
We're moving on. Okay. Rest of A-Day that we've got to talk about. Let's start with softball because I think you and I haven't had, as we've talked about, the most exciting things to talk about until lately.
Yeah.
Especially with SEC play. We had talked about last week, first conference win over Kentucky. Conference win.
Yep.
First conference or series win.
Yep.
How about beating your rival Georgia, not once, but twice?
Yeah.
And doing it in walk-off home run fashion by the same person on 8-day weekend.
Yes.
My goodness.
Malvo Mania. What they coined it on Friday night. A great weekend to be at J.B. Moore Field for Auburn, Georgia, and I don't know if KK McCrary likes the Georgia Bulldogs very much.
There's something. I don't know if they said something about her mama or daddy or something because I got to watch the first game and we caught it on video. Her walk-off home run, and I even thought I was like, something's gonna happen here because look, we were all hoping the way things have been going, just one win against Georgia. Count that. You're not satisfied.
Continue building.
Just building towards something. And when that kind of with the rain situation too, there was by the way, folks,
very, very strange.
100 yards separating softball and baseball. One umpire crew called the game, or not called the game, but delayed the game. The other moved on.
If you need to
You
go to the
go
bathroom,
figure.
just say so.
If
If
you
you needed a bathroom break, umpire and crew,
Well, they
at
need to get-
softball, just say so.
They need some help because they were in the bathroom for a long time. 'Cause
That was bizarre.
It was very
I've never
bizarre.
seen anything like that.
very bizarre. KK McCrary does it game 1, game 2, excuse me, goes to Georgia, back and forth affair still. So we come to the rubber game
Yeah,
on A-Day weekend finale.
a few hours ago.
A few hours ago, and they are behind pretty much from the get-go and all of the game until the 7th inning. KK McCrary comes to bat, bases loaded. We just needed one, KK. We already tied it up.
I'd already tied it up.
We just needed one.
But
But
sack fly would have been fine.
listen, I think it was 2 outs, so maybe not.
Oh,
Maybe I'm wrong.
a ball to the outfield would have been
just
fine.
a single, just a hit. That's all we need you to do, or just get hit. That's it.
Yeah.
Somebody already did that in the back. She said, "You know what? I am not done destroying the dreams of the puppy dogs," and just launched that grand slam at Jane B. Moore.
Yeah,
Felt like I could hear the roar all the way
Yeah.
over here. We call it more roar.
more. Yeah,
It's
okay.
a struggle.
I know
Sorry.
it's okay. It really fun though into the weekend for Auburn softball. It's been a struggle of a year. It's been a struggle of a conference play. But this team has had, I think that's their 19th come from behind win.
Yep.
So just a great day and a good showing out at the ballpark, and KK McCrary roared at everybody for coming out.
Man, that was fun. I'm
It's
so
good
glad.
momentum, good to build on with Auburn
Second.
softball.
Yeah. So your third SEC win.
Yeah.
Your third or your second SEC series win, 2 in a row now. Got to feel that kind of building here. And
Yeah.
not to say that it's just going to get magically better all of a sudden, but this is what you do. You take stair
Yes.
steps in a first year and keep building towards something.
Right.
Congratulations to Coaches Malveaux. Coaches Malveaux.
Coaches
As
Melville.
Coaches Malveaux.
We're still workshopping it.
And we're still workshopping this. A lot of things fall on the workshop floor, and just Austin
Yeah,
begs
just
me not to bring.
floundered around out
He
here.
begs me not to bring them up from time to time, and I'm just like, no, I'm not going to do that. I'm going to keep working on it. So that's softball. Let's talk about baseball. If Grand Slam series wins were good enough for softball, how about for the first time since 1988?
Yeah.
Let me say that again, folks. 1988. Auburn sweeps LSU baseball. Yes, LSU baseball, who's won national championships, who has all their drunk fans here, and all they go around doing is
they were
talk
here.
about
They were
rings and
here.
stuff like that.
Yes.
That's fine. But you need to be worrying about right now. And they didn't worry enough because your Auburn Tigers, for the first time since 1988, sweep LSU.
Sweep LSU, and it's not like this. They swept an LSU team and got an LSU team that's been bad. This is a top 3 LSU team in the country. Had lost like 4 games coming into this series. Had lost 2 SEC games, and they lose 3 in a row at Plainsman Park. They don't like coming here. It's something about Auburn and LSU at Plainsman Park. Auburn finds a way, and gets the better of them. Just an impressive weekend for Auburn and Butch Thompson and this staff. You come off of last weekend and a big upset series weekend over Alabama at Plainsman Park, and then you follow it up with a top 3 or a top 10 series. And taking out a top 3 opponent in LSU, and just not letting them get any of the games. So incredible atmospheres all weekend for sure. On the way over here, Andy said 19,119 over the weekend for Auburn baseball. That is a program record. So just very
7,200 on Saturday
last
was the
night,
record.
I think so. And it was records last weekend
Yes.
against Alabama. It was just continuing, and now there's more seating thanks to all the renovations. So you're going to get more records this year, but people are showing out.
Seating in space to put people in
Lots
general
of
seating.
space.
Lots of space.
To prop up your chair,
Or yourself.
or yourself,
Or lean
and-
against
and
things.
just try to wiggle your way through
Yeah.
when you walk around to get a hot dog.
Did a lot of that.
But a great weekend. The ballpark at Plainsman Park when it's bumping, there's few that rival it.
And you mean bumping and winning, not bumping smelling.
Well, it was smelling like corn dogs.
Oh,
all
there
weekend,
you go.
But
It worked.
it was also bumping like winning. So, very fun weekend and just played well. Just the offense, pitching staff, all the little areas that looked like this team might have struggled in last year. They're figuring things out.
And I think game 2 was the only game where LSU really had a lead. Am I correct in that?
Yeah,
Because they got 1-0, 2-0
2-0
maybe.
in the second inning.
Yeah.
and then Auburn stormed back.
Just
Yeah, I
kept
think you're right.
through on that. Chris Stanfield returns,
He did.
having left us to go to the Tigers. Still a lot of fondness for Chris Stanfield,
Sure.
and he is still probably, I think that Andy was talking about, their best hitter right now. Still wasn't enough, but
Correct.
It's got to feel weird for him running around in center field that he used to
Yeah,
call his home.
super weird. I didn't see his helmet fly off near as much.
No, it didn't. Other
as he
people's
did at
were.
Auburn, but he wasn't on the bases as much as he was when he was a Tiger, a good Tiger. But yeah, all those storylines, but ends up being a really good weekend for Auburn baseball. We talk about Butch Thompson on the show a lot,
Yeah.
and we talk about how dare anyone decide to doubt Butch Thompson. The freshman that he's brought in this year, he's hit on just about all of them. You think about Bub Terrell, Chatterton, who I know he didn't pitch this weekend, but Chase Fralick, Alvarez pitched today.
Yes, he did.
I know I'm forgetting
I mean, there's plenty.
someone else, a main role player, but just all of them contributing in big ways for this team. Do not come on our show or any show and go against Butch Thompson. I am short, but I will fight you.
What did I issue threats about last week? Now you're issuing.
I don't
threat.
remember.
It was something. It was something about somebody saying something bad about Chris Moore. So
That's
basically,
right.
don't say anything bad about Chris Moore. You don't say anything about Butch Thompson, or
No.
else you're going to find one of these two ugly mugs in your face.
And I'm small, but I can hide behind Kyle. So if you say something about Butch Thompson, I'm going to push him onto you.
Look, I love Butch, but I think that's you. That's on you. That's with you. I got Chris Moore's back. You got to have Butch's back.
That's right. This team's fun.
It is.
It's a lot of fun, and it made for a great weekend.
Are we moving into conversations that this team has a real strong case to be a host team now?
Oh, absolutely.
Where are we? If that percentage confidence that they're a host team. Based
No,
on
it's
where we're sitting.
it's a
I
long
know.
way to go.
I know.
I said this was a
Texas
top
next
3
week.
team. You're going to see number 2, probably number 1, based on other results at next weekend in Austin. So you still got to take care of business. But in the SEC, if you're a top 10 team, you're likely hosting a regional. And then it's one step closer.
One step closer to
So-
Omaha Auburn. And as you can tell, we've got new music out here right now. Of course,
right.
This is one of the benefits of doing that. Do we have a red light?
Oh, we got a red light.
Oh, we got a red light.
red
Just
light.
glaring with that.
I wish it was a song we both knew.
What if it? I almost thought for a second and wished it was Abby coming by. With his
Oh,
music.
Bobby?
If Bobby had come by,
That would
there you
be
go.
great.
Everybody wave at him.
Oh, it's a motorcycle.
Motorcycle. Wow.
2 motorcycles.
Wow. Might be overcompensating for something there.
We did.
So
We did see Bobby at E2C.
sorry, I'm still on my joke over there. Just that's
I'm
probably.
trying to
move on
I'm
from
trying
that.
to get right on by it.
All right, final thing here. Well, final few things here of 8A weekend. We've I got to go to women's tennis today.
Good.
And celebrate them. They got to win. LSU, y'all just don't need to be at Auburn anymore because you got
You
me
can come as much as you want.
as much as you want, I guess. You got swept in baseball. We beat them in women's tennis. Men's team beat men's tennis at Baton Rouge. So just not a great weekend.
Just leave your fans at home.
Just leave your fans at home, please. I had senior day. One senior got honored, and they, just dominated. They won 4-0.
Excellent.
Won the doubles point, won the singles point. I can't stress this enough, folks. If you haven't gone out to Yarborough to celebrate,
Really
this,
easy to get out there.
it's really easy to get out there. Great venue. Please go out there. They're hosting, I believe, the women's tournament and likely going to be hosting first round. So go out there. Other things, shopping, things like that, some experience. The pop-up shop was back.
Yes.
Did you get a chance to go in there?
I didn't get a chance. Saw some pictures. I thought it was better. I not, and my wallet be safer if I don't go in. Tell me what you saw. I saw. Well, I'll let you tell me what you saw in
and
person first. I want to see.
Segue off of talking about tennis here. They've got the little obby
Yes.
with the
That's where I
different
wanted to go.
sports things. They had a new one, 2 new ones this year, I believe.
Okay.
But one I know of was the tennis one.
Yes.
That was a big request.
Yep.
So shout out to the tennis
I
program.
think that's very interesting. That's a big request,
Yeah,
and
well-
I think that's great. But
Well,
I think
about
I like
some
to
of that.
hear that.
Yeah, but I think it's probably the programs want it, but also, some of that apparel works well with the tennis culture and stuff like
Yeah.
that. So I think that's probably why it was. I'm shocked that we still have yet to got. Golf is there, obviously.
Yes,
But
different
where's-
looking hobby.
Where's
but
our
yes.
swimming?
Okay, so that's an interesting question you bring up. That maybe
Volleyball.
maybe this is a summer question, a summer discussion. But more universities around the country are starting to do this.
Yeah.
Their mascots play in every sport and sell apparel. I'm like, let's roll them all out.
roll
I
'em.
saw tennis. I said, okay, we're doing this.
Let's do this.
Let's get them all out. My
Yeah.
dad and I were talking when he got to visit the pop-up shop, and he was showing me some pictures of the football one. Is that the other one you were
Yeah.
talking about?
The football one, there's a basketball.
I
one.
don't remember seeing the football one.
That may be
before.
a
Had you?
new one.
Okay.
Maybe like a new version of it.
But I'm like, let's bring them all out. I want Obby swimming. in the pool, and
Tigers do love to swim.
tigers.
I
love to
have a
swim.
zoology degree from
That's
Rouse
right.
over there. Those are my classrooms right there. I can.
I mean, he's a zoology degree and a kicker.
And somehow I'm running a
the
podcast.
Kyle Loomis show
I
right here.
don't know what's going on.
What would be the obby that we're
He's
talking
back.
about with the sport? He is back. He heard us. Different song.
Different song this time.
What would be the obby that if they brought out the sport we don't already have, you would buy immediately?
Probably volleyball.
Volleyball.
Honestly.
I like that.
I mean, I just love what Coach Crouch is doing for the women's program here.
Yeah.
But it's unique. You know, I like unique things. That would be probably the one. What about you?
I want to see Obby on a horse. I want to see Obby on a horse. I would get the Obby equestrian one immediately.
Albert Elvis is loving you right now.
I would want to see Obby on a horse. But there's so many things they could do. And I like to see those at the pop-up shop.
Yep.
So that was a big part of the pop-up shop. Well, was there anything else that you saw?
You know, a lot of the not same stuff, but you know, stuff that you've seen before. So some of this retro gear, vintage gear, all that stuff was great to see. I just love going there and looking at it, just looking.
Yeah, just
Jessica,
looking.
Jessica, I didn't spend anything. I didn't spend anything.
He's wearing the same thing.
They had the Eagle A hat that I always want, trucker style hat.
Oh.
You know what was new this year? They had a build your own hat thing.
Oh.
That was probably
How's that work?
So I didn't do it. So, but I mean,
Sure.
there was actual signage. I think I've got a photo of the signage
Okay.
that explains how you pick your style of hat, you pick what you want to be embroidered,
patch?
a patch or whatever it is,
Interesting.
and then I think some other things. But they had it all laid out there where you could pick stuff and show you what your choices were. It was pretty cool. They had little presses or something in the
Yeah.
back that was going to have
That's
that.
pretty interesting.
I think that's a good addition if they're going to do this every year.
Yeah.
So that was there. Other thing, the bookstore is being renovated right now at Haley,
Yes.
and they are currently at Coliseum on the south side of the Coliseum, kind of like southwest-ish.
Swimming annex side.
Not as close to the swimming. I mean, it is on the swimming side, but not
Yeah.
as close as you think.
If you're looking for it, that's probably where I'd start.
So please go visit them while they're over there because we love them. Love to give them a shout out.
Different cool vibe.
It is. It's a little bit obviously smaller, but when I walked in there, I was like, this feels like they've been here forever. So they did a real
Yeah.
good job of utilizing Haley. Maybe we should do that for the rest of the parts of Haley as well. Just saying.
Yeah.
You know? I know there's asbestos. Well, that's allegedly asbestos in there.
Allegedly.
Allegedly, supposedly, can't confirm.
Yes.
But you haven't had a chance to go in there yet.
We tried on Saturday morning. We took a walk with the boys, and they just weren't open yet. But we could kind of peek through the window, and it had kind of a I think they're leaning into. We're in the old space of Beard Eves. They're kind of leaning into that retro style. So I think it's great. You know, it's just temporary. But definitely go check it out. There's tons of signage. They want to make sure you find it.
Oh yeah.
They want to keep business up. So we didn't get to go in, but we were like, we still got to kill some time and get these little tornadoes tired. And so we went up the ramp. And when's the last time you went like in the Coliseum?
Oh, I think maybe almost a year ago for wheelchair basketball.
So there's a giant T-Rex head if you go up the ramp on the Plainsman Park side, second floor, the geology department.
Oh, that's right.
There's a giant T-Rex head. Big hit with the twins. Dino. And then we just let them run up on the main concourse a bunch. Still a lot of Auburn history in there to see. Yeah. Emily was like, I can't believe they've just left all this. I'm like, they have. It's kind of weird, but it's kind of cool too.
Yeah.
So that's a very different aside. But that was part of my 8-day Palooza weekend.
That's what we do in 8-day weekend. It's a glorified homecoming in a sense of a full weekend of experiences about the sports, about the culture, the family getting together. And as the sun's setting behind us here, with Jordan Hare in the background, I can't think of another case I can make for you than to please, as long as it exists in whatever capacity, come to 8-day weekend. I know that finances are tight and all that you got to get rooms and things to stay, but if you can, come get the full Auburn experience at 8-day weekend.
Yeah.
And we want to thank Alumni Center, Auburn Alumni
Absolutely.
Center, who we're broadcasting from. Gave them a shout out at the start, but they are very gracious to let us come back, and hopefully this stream worked a little bit better than last time. I think it did. I haven't gotten any negative feedback yet, but we'll find out afterwards. But in the future we may do some more from here as long as they continue to allow us to do that.
Yeah.
But can't ask for a better view on 8-day weekend than the sun setting behind Jordan Hare Stadium and the monstrosity of
the monstrosity. We didn't talk about the new video board, but it's coming along. And but yeah, I mean, you can't beat this view right here. quite literally the rolling plains beneath the sun-kissed sky.
Literally,
We'll take it.
And some people rolling by twice for some reason. And we can't even see you.
They just wanted to hear us a little bit.
I don't know. Anyway, that is going to do it for the Auburn Experience episode 121. I want to thank you for joining us, putting up with us, and letting us gush about how much we love the Auburn Experience here. It's Austin, myself, Kyle. We appreciate you guys being here with us today and hanging out. So we talk to you again. War Eagle.